car's riddled with bullets. Somebody shot into this car with multiple people inside. A child.
She was dying. Her 5-year-old son lay in the back seat. Her boyfriend bled beside her. With the last strength she had, Kia Berry typed a single, chilling word, Jocko. At 5:09 p.m. on July 13, 2024, that one text became her final act of defiance, naming the man she believed responsible for the killings of her son, Landon Brooks, and boyfriend Eric Ashley Jr. Their car, a blue Nissan Maxima, was discovered moments later, riddled with approximately 20 to 30 bullet casings, abandoned in front of a home near Echo Highlands Park in Birmingham, Alabama. Arkia's body was found slumped across the console as if shielding her child. Surveillance captured a lime green Kia Soul arriving at 5:07 p.m., just before Arkia pulled in. 1 minute later, at 5:10 p.m., the Kia sped off, and seconds after that, the Nissan's built-in crash phone dialed 911. Nearby, investigators counted empty shell casings littering the pavement. Arkia's one-word text, Jocko, led detectives to 25-year-old Jacorian Deshaun McGregor, now charged with capital murder in all 3 deaths. Phone records show that at the same crucial moment, Eric Ashley's phone placed a call to Jocko at 5:08 p.m., and messages recovered reveal coordination between Ashley and McGregor earlier that day. Friends of McGregor allegedly messaged him after the shooting, urging him to lay low, stay out of sight. This final text, sent as death closed in, became the pivotal clue. The judge ruled there was enough evidence to bind the case over to a grand jury. McGregor remains held without bond, while the grieving community awaits justice. Kia Berry was 28 years old, a Birmingham hairstylist known in her community for her skill with a pair of scissors and her magnetic warmth. She built confidence on the heads of her clients, transforming hair, but more importantly, the person behind it. Each morning, Kia prided herself on her hustle. Balancing clients' appointments, posting reels of fresh hairstyles, and getting ready for game day snacks with her son Landon, a spirited 5-year-old who just turned into his mother's greatest joy. Landon Brooks was about to start kindergarten. In their family, he and his mom were inseparable, what her cousin called 2 peas in a pod. Landon was smart, energetic, and full of promise. By July 2024, before sunset on the evening of July 13, life seemed ordinary, peaceful. Kia was expected at home later that night, but she never did. Instead, she and Landon settled into a blue Nissan Maxima with Eric Ashley Jr., Kia's boyfriend, a friend, and a father's protector figure. There were no warning signs that anything out of the norm was coming. No alarms raised. No calls for help. Just a family headed out, as millions do on an ordinary evening. He was 5 years old. His name was Landon Brooks. He was loud, joyful, curious. The kind of kid who always had something to say and wasn't afraid to say it. If there was music playing, Landon was dancing. If there was a ball nearby, he would run after it. His family called him an old soul in a little body, wise beyond his years, but still just a boy who loved his cartoons, his snacks, and his mom. Especially his mom. Landon was about to start kindergarten. He had his backpack picked out. His shoes were ready by the door. He played youth football with the 5U East Lake Cowboys, a team filled with kids who looked up to him, not because he was the fastest or the strongest, but because he always made practice fun. At home, he was the heart of the family, the one who made everyone laugh even when things were hard. Landon's father had died in a shooting back in 2020, but somehow, this little boy kept showing up with a smile on his face, lifting everyone else up. Family described him as pure light. One cousin said, he wasn't just a good kid. He was a kid. The one you brag about. He had no idea what was coming that Saturday evening. No way to know that within minutes, his whole world, and his life, would be taken away in the back seat of a car. Eric Ashley Jr. was 28 years old. He wasn't loud. He didn't seek the spotlight. But he was steady. Quiet. A backbone behind Kia's dreams as she built her life as a hairstylist in Birmingham. He supported her every step of the way, her appointments, her Instagram reels, her late-night hustle. Their relationship wasn't flashy, but it was real. They were partners. He was often described by friends and family as the sort who loved quietly, unassuming, reliable, protective. That night, on July 13, 2024, he sat in the front passenger seat of a blue Nissan Maxima. Kia was behind the wheel, and Landon was in the back seat. They came together, in that car, neither expecting what was about to happen. 20 to 30 bullet casings would later be counted on the pavement. By the time detectives pieced together the surveillance footage, they saw a timeline that brought everything into sharp focus. At 5:07 p.m., a lime green Kia Soul pulled into the neighborhood. A minute later, at 5:08 p.m., Kia Berry's Nissan followed. At 5:09 p.m., Kia typed her final message, Jocko. And at 5:08 p.m., according to phone logs, Eric's phone showed a call placed to a contact saved as Jocko, a nickname linked to Jacorian McGregor, who was later arrested in connection with all three deaths. Eric had no warning. No time to react. He was gone within seconds. His life and role as father figure ended in a blur of violence that left Kia and Landon also dead. Detective Jarvelius Tolliver testified during a preliminary hearing in April 2025 that messages between Ashley and McGregor earlier that day showed they had planned to meet. After the shooting, McGregor was advised by others to lay low and stay hidden. Eric's last moments were spent supporting Kia. His final act was simply being there. The impact of his loss reverberated across his family and the Birmingham community, another reminder of lives cut short, of promise lost. In Birmingham, Alabama, on July 13, 2024, as the sun dropped toward the evening horizon, a family's ordinary night spiraled into an unspeakable tragedy. A mother, her young son, and her partner were found shot to death inside a car, reportedly mistaken at first as a crash site but immediately revealed to be something far more disturbing. Their blue Nissan Maxima was riddled with shell casings, 20 to 30, investigators later counted, strewn like markers of destruction around the vehicle parked in the front yard of a home near Echo Highlands Park. Behind the scenes of this brutal crime was a city wrestling with its own crisis. In 2024, Birmingham shattered its previous record for homicides, logging 149 deaths, a rate more than 12 times the national average, 75.78 per 100,000 residents. In a place where hope and violence coexist in uneasy proximity, the deaths of Arkia, Kia Berry, her son Landon Brooks, and partner Eric Ashley Jr., were more than statistics. This was a human heartbreak at the center of a growing crisis. What set this apart was not just the brutality, but the message. Arkia, fighting for her life, managing one final act of courage, typed a single word before she died. That word would become the single most pivotal clue in the investigation that followed. Jocko. No context. No explanation. Just a name. At 5:09 p.m., Arkia sent that text. At 5:10 p.m., surveillance footage captured a lime green Kia Soul speeding away from the scene. 1 minute earlier, at 5:07 p.m., the Kia Soul pulled into the neighborhood. At 5:08 p.m., Arkia's Nissan followed. Phone records revealed another chilling detail. At the same time Arkia prefaced her final message, her boyfriend Eric placed a call to a contact saved as Jocko. The name investigators would link to 25-year-old Jacorian McGregor, who would later be arrested and charged with capital murder in all three deaths. Detective Jarvelius Tolliver, testifying at a preliminary hearing in April 2025, laid it out. Messages exchanged earlier in the day between Ashley and McGregor showed they planned to meet. After the shooting, McGregor's associates reportedly messaged him to lay low or stay out of sight. According to the detective, no direct surveillance showed anyone firing a weapon. No one was seen inside the green Kia at gunpoint, but the single text seemed to implicate him. McGregor's defense attorney pushed back, calling it circumstantial. He argued that a text from a dying woman naming someone doesn't prove they were the shooter. But when the judge ruled there was enough probable cause, the case was sent to a grand jury. McGregor remains jailed without bond. The heartbreak cut deeper because these were real lives, not crime scene statistics. Arkia Berry, 28, was a Birmingham hairstylist, bright, driven, deeply devoted to her child. Her son, Landon Brooks, just 5, was a kid with football practice, jokes, laughter, and his whole life ahead of him, as family said, like 2 peas in a pod. Eric Ashley Jr., 28, stood quietly behind Kia, supporting her dreams, protecting his family. In a city under siege from gun violence, where it's estimated that nearly 565 people die from gun homicide each year statewide and children account for a tragic share of that toll, this case struck a nerve. These stories don't make national headlines. That's why we tell them. If you don't subscribe now, you might never hear the truth behind the next tragedy. Don't be the last one to know. At first, neighbors thought it was just a crash. A car had come to a sudden stop in a front yard near Echo Highlands Park. But when police arrived, they saw something else entirely. The blue Nissan Maxima hadn't hit anything. It was covered in bullet holes. Windows shattered. Shell casings all around. And inside were 3 people, all dead from gunshot wounds. Arkia Berry, 28, was in the driver's seat. Her boyfriend, Eric Ashley Jr., sat beside her. In the back was her 5-year-old son, Landon Brooks. And then, there was the text. Just before she died, Arkia managed to send one final message. One word. Jocko. That name would become the center of the entire investigation. Surveillance footage showed a lime green Kia Soul pulling up at 5:07 p.m. A minute later, Arkia's car followed. By 5:10, the green Kia sped away. At the same moment Arkia sent that message, Eric's phone showed a call placed to a contact saved as Jocko. Police traced it to Jacorian Deshaun McGregor, 25. He was arrested a few months later, after a U.S. Marshals task force tracked him down. They found a stolen handgun in his car. He's now charged with capital murder in all 3 deaths, and being held without bond. This wasn't a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Investigators believe the 3 victims were targeted. And in her last moments, Arkia may have helped name her killer. Moments before she died, Arkia Berry sent one word, Jocko. That single message changed everything. It provided the only real lead investigators had in the death of her son, Landon Brooks, and her partner, Eric Ashley Jr. At approximately 5:09 p.m. on July 13, 2024, the blue Nissan Maxima came to rest in a front yard near Echo Highlands Park. Initial 911 reports suggested a crash, but the reality was far more chilling. The vehicle was covered in around 20 to 30 bullet holes. Inside were 3 victims, Kia in the driver's seat, Eric beside her, and young Landon in the back. Her message came at a critical moment. Minutes earlier, surveillance footage captured a lime green Kia Soul entering the neighborhood at 5:07 p.m. Kia Berry's car followed at 5:08. Then, at 5:10, the green Kia sped away. Disappearing moments before the crash detection system in the Maxima automatically called 911. Arkia's last act of clarity brought focus to an investigation that otherwise lacked eyewitness testimony or direct surveillance showing the shooter. Detectives identified Jocko as the nickname for Jacorian Deshaun McGregor, 25 years old. His name was saved in Eric Ashley Jr.'s phone contacts as Jocko, and a call appeared logged the same minute that Kia sent her message. While no video shows shots being fired and no physical evidence tied McGregor directly to the car, the judge at the preliminary hearing found the combination of the text, phone records, and timing sufficient to send the case to a grand jury. McGregor was arrested in February 2025 after U.S. Marshals located him, and he was charged with capital murder, currently held without bond. Her final message may have been just one word, but to investigators, it was enough to break open the case. So who is Jocko? His real name is Jacorian Deshaun McGregor, 25 years old. Not a stranger to Birmingham PD. His name had been passed around before. But this time, it was different. This time, he wasn't just someone on the street. He was the name that a dying woman sent with her final breath. Investigators say McGregor had one thing on his mind: money. And not a lot of it. Just $2,000. A debt that, according to detectives, stemmed from some kind of street-level dealing, maybe a loan, maybe something more complicated. But to McGregor, it was enough to justify murder. Detective Jarvelius Tolliver testified in court that there were text messages between McGregor and Eric Ashley Jr., Arkia's boyfriend. They'd agreed to meet that day. Eric had borrowed money. The tension was already there. Then came the messages after the shooting. Friends of McGregor were texting him things like, "Lay low, stay hidden, don't come outside." He didn't deny talking to Eric that day. He didn't deny knowing the victims. Police believe McGregor followed them to that neighborhood. He pulled up first. Arkia's car came in right behind him. Minutes later, gunfire. And just like that, a mom, her child, and her partner were gone. He wasn't arrested right away. He ran. For 7 months, McGregor moved in silence. Until February 2025, when U.S. Marshals found him hiding in a car on Vaughndale Lane. He tried to escape, hit a law enforcement vehicle. But they caught him. They say he had a loaded 9mm handgun on him. And now, he's facing 3 counts of capital murder. Investigators had one thing: a name. But no idea where that person was hiding. And no time to waste. In the hours after the shooting, detectives secured the final clue: Arkia Barry's one-word text, Jocko. Within minutes, phone records revealed that Eric Ashley Jr. had placed a call at 5:08 p.m. that evening to a contact saved as Jocko. That same name surfaced in conversations between friends of Jacorian Deshaun McGregor, the man the police now suspected. Still, the city of Birmingham had no arrest in hand. At first, Jocko was just a nickname stored in someone's phone, no photo, no address, no real presence on the radar. Detective Jarvelius Tolliver presented the case during a preliminary hearing in April 2025. He laid out the chain. The surveillance, the phones, the burned green Kia Soul later found near the neighborhood, but nothing showing McGregor firing a weapon. Nor did they have physical evidence linking him directly to the crime scene. Still, McGregor's associates were messaging him after the fact, coaching him to lay low, stay hidden, don't come outside. That rang alarm bells loud enough for the judge. Based on the combination of Arkia's final message, the call logs, and the timing, the judge ruled there was sufficient probable cause. The case moved to a grand jury. McGregor remained jailed without bond. In the meantime, the community held its breath. Arkia was a hairstylist, Landon a 5-year-old kid about to start kindergarten. Eric was the quiet protector at her side. None of them had any idea what was coming that night. Investigators pieced the timeline from shell casings, burned vehicles, pinged cell towers, and phone logs, but without the text, police admitted, they would have been chasing smoke. If you think these tragedies only happen to other people, think again. Arkia could have been your sister, your cousin, your best friend. Subscribe, because awareness is the only protection we have. While 3 caskets were being lowered into the ground, while families picked out headstones and tried to explain to a 5-year-old's classmates why he wouldn't be coming back, the man believed responsible was gone. Jacorian McGregor, just 25 years old, disappeared. No more texts. No social media posts. No trace. The Birmingham Police Department put out a wanted poster. His name and photo were broadcast on local news. U.S. Marshals joined the manhunt. But still, nothing. For 7 months, there were no public updates. Behind closed doors, officers worked the case. They traced phones. Interviewed anyone tied to McGregor. But he had help. People who kept quiet. People who saw the headlines, and stayed silent. Meanwhile, the Barry and Ashley families were still grieving. Still asking questions. Still waiting for justice. It wasn't until February 2025 that they got the call: McGregor had been found. U.S. Marshals tracked him to a neighborhood off Vaughndale Lane. He was hiding out in a car. When officers tried to block him in, he rammed into a government vehicle, tried to run. But they were ready. Inside the car, they found a loaded 9mm handgun. He didn't have a license. The gun matched the type used in the shooting, but not conclusively. Still, it was enough to bring him in. Enough to finally say the words, "He's in custody." McGregor was arrested and charged with 3 counts of capital murder. No bond. No chance to run again. But for the families, this wasn't closure. It wasn't over. Because the hurt doesn't end when the suspect is caught. Especially not when it took half a year to get there. The city of Birmingham mourned, not just for lives ended, but for how they were taken. At Wahuma Park, just days after the tragedy, hundreds gathered for a candlelight vigil to honor Arkia, Kia, Barry and her son, Landon Brooks. Balloons were released, names were spoken, tears fell. You could sense the weight of grief across every face. Keldrick Marsh, Landon's coach on the Wahuma 5U football team, shared his pain. That kid had so much ahead of him. He was going to be an amazing kid. Marsh had been with Landon just 2 hours before the shooting. The loss was abrupt, shocking, and deeply personal for a team full of young children. Family members described Kia as fiercely proud of her son, 2 peas in a pod, they said. Landon's cousin Ania Barry noted, she loved her baby so much, she gave him everything he needed. City leaders weighed in too. In a public statement following the vigil, Police Chief Scott Thurman said the shootings represented yet another chapter in Birmingham's struggle with gun violence. We see too many families devastated. We are sick and tired of it, he declared. As investigators moved forward, pursuing leads tied to that final text naming Jocko, the community held its breath. Grief gave way to determination. Neighbors condemned the violence, coaches urged peace, and family members insisted on justice. The memorial at Wahuma Park wasn't just a vigil. It was a statement. The stories of Arkia, Landon, and Eric mattered. The city would not let them vanish into silence. If you've made it this far and haven't subscribed, tell us why in the comments. Seriously. Let the rest of us know why staying silent is the better option. 7 months passed. No arrests. No court dates. No justice. Just silence. But behind that silence, the work never stopped. Birmingham police and U.S. Marshals were tracking every lead. They knew the name, Jacorian McGregor, and they knew what he was capable of. But they couldn't find him. He had vanished after the shooting on July 13, 2024, where Arkia Barry, her 5-year-old son Landon Brooks, and her boyfriend Eric Ashley Jr. were all shot and killed on 41st Street North. The only clue was Arkia's dying text, Jocko. That one word narrowed the case. But finding him was a different story. McGregor had ties to multiple neighborhoods. Friends who wouldn't talk. A history of keeping low. It wasn't until February 16, 2025, that a tip came in. Marshals tracked him to a car near Vaughndale Lane. A sting operation was set up. As officers moved in, McGregor tried to flee, ramming a U.S. government vehicle with his own car. But they were ready. He was arrested on the spot. Inside the car, they found a loaded 9mm handgun, the same caliber believed to have been used in the triple homicide. No license. No excuse. He was charged with 3 counts of capital murder and held without bond. After months of waiting, the families of Arkia, Landon, and Eric finally had one thing. A suspect in custody. But the road to justice was just beginning. Was it really just about $2,000? Or was that the final spark igniting something much deeper? Here's what investigators pieced together. According to Detective Jarvelius Tolliver, the day before the shooting, Eric Ashley Jr. and Jacorian McGregor, known as Jocko, exchanged messages and phone calls. The topic, a financial agreement, reportedly about $2,000. That debt appears to have shifted from business to animosity in just hours. McGregor had a criminal record for receiving stolen property. He was no stranger to trouble. But this time, those close to him say he talked about threats. Some described him as paranoid, worried about being owed, worried he wasn't in control. No full account has been released about McGregor's mindset that night. But surveillance shows him arriving first. Police believe he expected a meeting, and he didn't show up empty-handed. Time-stamped show, McGregor pulls in at 5:07 p.m. A minute later, Kia's car pulls in. At 5:08, a call from Eric connects to McGregor. At 5:09, Kia sends Jocko. 1 minute later, shotguns ring out. 30 shell casings scatter across the pavement. It was personal. Investigators say McGregor allegedly arrived with two intentions: collect his money, or punish someone who wouldn't pay. Whatever the motion, it led to tragedy. In court, defense attorney John Robbins called it circumstantial, saying Arkia's last text doesn't prove McGregor pulled the trigger. But the judge saw enough evidence to move the case forward. McGregor remains jailed without bond. So what does driving distance, debt, and a missed payment lead to? For three people. It led to one final, desperate moment, and a message sent in fear. No trial date yet. No verdict. Just more time passing. But for Arkia, Kia, Barry, her son Landon Brooks, and her boyfriend Eric Ashley Jr., time stopped the day they were killed. Their families? They're still waiting. Still watching. Still hurting. Months after the arrests, a preliminary hearing was held on April 17, 2025. Detective Jarvelius Tolliver stood before the judge and laid out the evidence: phone records, surveillance timestamps, and Arkia's final text, Jocko. Based on that, the court found probable cause to bind the case over to a grand jury. McGregor remains jailed, held without bond as the grand jury decides next steps. Investigators say the message came at 5:09 p.m., just after the green Kia pulled in, just before the blue Nissan came around the corner. Ashley's phone placed a call to a contact labeled Jocko at that exact timestamp. That data, combined with messages advising McGregor to lay low after the shooting, convinced the judge to move forward. Though motions, legal arguments, and review remain ahead, the families know one thing: justice is not automatic. It's earned. And they're still losing. We don't cover these stories for clicks. We cover them so they're not forgotten. If we stop telling these stories, who will? Hit that subscribe button, and carry her name with us. She could barely speak. She was bleeding out in the front seat. Her son was behind her, motionless. Her boyfriend next to her, already gone. And yet, she picked up her phone. And typed one word. Jocko. That final message didn't just help crack the case, it may have stopped the suspect from hurting anyone else. But was it enough? Do you think Arkia's last text saved lives? And here's the harder question. Do you believe justice is ever really served in cases like this? When the families are still grieving? When the trial hasn't even started? When nothing will bring back what was taken? Tell us in the comments. And if you're still watching, you're part of this now. These stories deserve more than silence. So let's talk about it, together. If you felt something watching this, if Arkia's final text hit you in the chest the way it hit us, then don't just scroll past. This story took weeks to piece together. Every name. Every detail. Every hour editing through tears and testimony, just to make sure it was told right. So if you think stories like this matter, hit that subscribe button. Because for small creators like me, that one click. It's what keeps these stories from disappearing. And hey, if you made it all the way to the end and still didn't subscribe, tell us why in the comments. Seriously. I want to know. Because maybe it'll help me make the next one even better.